Our speaker is Linda Pumphrey, and she is, she's had a lifelong passion of quilts, old and new, and she's been quilting for about 30 years. She recently went back with the company that started her career, and she is now a senior account executive for Fibrix LLC, makers of Mountain Mist batting. And she has brought samples, I hope all of you have. And she's going to tell us about the different types of batting and the different uses. So please welcome Linda.
Before you start, Linda, did anybody not get a sample? Anybody else?
Am I on? Yes. Good. Okay. I'm going to come up front. So, everyone got samples? Okay. I started in the batting world in 1989, and worked in the batting world until 2000-something. 2009, jumped to Calico and then came back. Actually, had retired. And I was writing the Mountain Mist historical book, and so I had to reach out to Mountain Mist for the copyright permission. What I didn't know is they had just been sold at the same time I was retiring. What they didn't know is I had retired.
Move the thing in closer to your mouth.
Okay. Is that better? That better? Okay. So they for 9 months asked me to come back and work, and they would call me about every 3 weeks, and I'd say no. I looked up in the Webster Dictionary, retirement means you don't work. And I was writing a book, and I was keeping really, really busy traveling the world. Well, they finally, after 5 offers, talked me back to work. So I'm back to work, as I tell them, they're on borrowed time. I don't know how much longer I'll work for them, but I love the batting industry. And sometimes one of my friends in the industry said, how can you sell batting? It's so boring. I'm like, this one is both their definition. And we've seen so many changes in the batting world in the last 30 years. It's from technology to what we use as quilters that has made the journey really, really exciting. So I'm going to ask a few questions. First of all, how many hand quilters do we have in the audience today? Okay. How many quilt using their domestic home sewing machine? Okay. How many use long arm themselves? And how many quilt by paycheck? Okay. All right, in the check. Okay. That way I can kind of figure out where I'm going with this talk, because as you can see, I don't know my notes. The other question I'm going to ask is how many always use the same brand, same type of batting and everything they make? Okay, for those that have their hands up, at the end, the one challenge that I give when I give this lecture is if you don't have any other takeaway, hopefully you'll take this away, that the same batting for every project might not be appropriate. And so I hope to widen your world and expand your batting options out there for you. I do work for Mountain Mist, but we'll talk about different types of battings because, again, not one type of batting is perfect for every project. And in Mountain Mist, we don't make every type of batting. We don't make a batting with scrim and that type of thing. So we'll go to the next slide. As I said, batting has changed greatly. When I started in the industry in 1989, we were all quilting with polyester batting. About 90% of the quilts or more like 95% of the quilts were made with polyester. There were brands out there that didn't even make cotton batting. Mountain Mist has always made cotton batting since 1846. And in fact, it was Mountain Mist in 1846 that started making the first commercial batting for quilters in the market. And it was made with starch. So I was at a talk the other day with a friend of mine, an antique quilt collector. She collects Mountain Mist quilts, and she said all the Mountain Mist quilts, they love the quilting because they're all very, very close quilting. Well, until the polymers and the resins and the acrylics that we have today available on the market came to be in the late 1950s, early 1960s, it was a water-soluble starch that was holding the fibers together. So if you as a quilter did not quilt the quilt really close, first time you wash the quilt, you get those lumpy little cotton balls that you see in some of the antique quilts when they're quilted further apart, like an applique quilt where they didn't quilt underneath the applique, because there was nothing holding the fiber together but the quilting stitches itself. So we've changed a lot. In the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, a lot of our batting were resin bonded, and I'll go through, not to bore you, but we're going to build that today in my talk, just so you understand what makes one bat more appropriate for another project, and then we'll see some quilts. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. This actually was a line in the Stearns & Foster plant. I was in Cincinnati this weekend where they started and went by it's now a green field. It was so sad to see it all torn down. But when I started with Mountain Mist in 1989, this actually made our cotton batting. And each one of those machines where you see the wooden stick standing up is what you call a card. In it, it has all these wires. And so as we put the cotton or the polyester or whatever fiber into the machine, it combs it into a really fine mist and opens all the fiber. Cotton's, Mother Nature grows it into a tight together, so we want to spread it out. Polyester comes all clumped together in bales, and again, we want to spread it out. And each of the cards will lay down a fine mist, it looks like a fog, a fiber, onto the conveyor belt that's going underneath floor level, and then you will build your loft. And depending how thick you want the batting is, how many cards you're going to use. And nowadays, we don't use as many cards. We don't have to have that long a line, but because the technology's changed a little bit, but the technology is the same. Same combing net, same process. Okay. As I said, today we have just batting, tons of battings to choose from types of fiber, how they're put together, and brands. So it's no wonder that sometimes we get confused and always gravitate to the same batting because we know how to work batting. But hopefully we'll have some other choices. Go ahead. So we're going to talk about loft, and loft is actually the thickness. That's our technical term. When I started in the 1980s, 1980s, 1990s, loft, our favorite lofts were the really, really thick one. We wanted really definition in our quilting design. We were hand quilting or machine quilting, but we wanted them puffy. We were doing tie quilts, more comforter quilts. So we were more on the large loft side, on the visual that's closest to me here. Today we are on the other side of the loft line where we are pretty much flat. Most of the quilts that we're doing, because we're doing heavily quilting, close quilting, we've graduated back to a flatter loft. So, and then there's everything in between. We'll go to the next one. So if we're using a lower loft batting, what that gives us is the stitching stays on the surface of our quilt, because there's no thickness for it to concave into, to sink into. So if you're doing a quilt with a lot of thread play and you really want the thread to become part of the image on your quilt surface, then you want a lower loft. If you used a really thick batting and try to do thread play, not going to work really successfully for you. So the one in the upper square in the blue fabric, that's machine quilted. Again, machine quilting, we see more of the thread becoming more of the emphasis of the quilt. But you also see in the lower one, the applique rows, where the quilting stitches, you see, even though it's a hand quilted image, you're seeing more of the stitch. It doesn't have anywhere to sink in. So it becomes part of the pattern of the quilt, the thread itself. We'll go to the next one. These two are medium lofts. And so the red and white, it's a very busy fabric in the border there after the spider web type thing. And so I actually made this quote for one of the books. I wanted the spider web or the area in the white to show a little bit more definition, so we used the medium block. So the stitches machine quilted, but we're not seeing the stitches themselves because now it has more oomph in the batting for the stitches to actually receive that in. So it's the quilting design that shows, not the stitch itself. And then also on the white on white, it's an overall pattern, but again, you're seeing more of the effect of what the pattern is, not the thread itself. Make sense to everyone? You see the differences there? Also on the red and white, Karen Kilmeyer quilted that. Karen, I have learned, is not afraid of using colored thread. I'm very much a traditionalist when I quilt, so if it's white or cream on the white, and if it's red, I do red. But she's got me out of my box a little bit. And so she used a light gray, which gives you a little shadow there. You don't see the gray thread because it's concave into the quilt itself, but you see it a little bit more. It just highlights the quilting emphasis. It's a little trick that she taught me. Okay. And this was the look back in the 90s, early 90s. Some of us have quilts in our closet that probably look more like this, really puffy. So the top one, if you're doing a comforter type quilt or a baby quilt where you really want it cuddly and cushy and comforter-like, then you're going to do a high loft. Extra loft's one of the names. We used to have a brand in Mount Miss. We don't produce it anymore. It was a terrible name called Fatback. We used to have a cartoon. I didn't put it up there, but it was a lady looking in the mirror saying, "I'm not a fatback." So anyway, and then the lower one with the colored blocks, you see where it was really closely quilted, it's flat, but then where it's not quilted, that batting has to go somewhere, and so it goes and boosts up the fabric. And that is all done by the batting. We have a mixed crowd today, so the ladies in the audience probably will relate to this, but I say it's like when you're putting on Spanx. You know, that extra oomph has to go somewhere. So same thing with the batting. So if you're doing a smaller quilt or a wall hanging and tightly quilting it and use the thicker bat, not a great choice because your edges are going to wave because that oomph has to go somewhere. So you're going to get your edges are going to wave at you. And we don't like wavy edges. Maybe we do, but we don't. Okay. We'll go to the next one. So we have discovered that batting's not stuffing. It's not good for your turkey or holiday dinners. But if you buy a bag of fiber fill, that's not batting. And we find a lot of times when a mother doesn't quilt or do any textile crafts, they go to buy batting for a child's class project and they end up with bag of fiber fill in the glass. So we have some more education to do. Okay, we'll move on. We're going to talk about how now the process and how we make sure all those fibers stay together. Because if we don't bond them in some fashion, we have a bag of fiber fill that we could use or not use for our turkey dinner. So the method that was not widely used when I started in the industry was thermal bonding. And that's where you send it through an oven, a really hot oven, and the fibers melt together. And they're fibers that are built to do that, and they're called low melt fibers. And so the inside of the fiber is polyester, or synthetic. The outside is wrapped with another synthetic that melts at a lower temperature. So everywhere the fibers meet and cross, you get that little bubble effect under the microscope. That's where it's melted together and bonded. And thermal bonding, we have moved, when I came back with Mountain Mist 3 years ago, we changed all to thermal bonding. Because now those fibers are really adhered together, not giving you a stiff quilt batting, but really adhered so that it eliminates the bearding problem, or prevents it. So we have moved to a bonding process on all that. But you do need to have a synthetic fiber in order to do that. Mother Nature does not build your fiber. This is needle punching. Needle punch battings did not exist in the early 90s at all. And then they came on, and a lot of what we use today are needle punch batting, really dense, flat quilt battings. And this is actually a needle board. Each of those little needles have little barbs or hooks on it. So the batting will come off the conveyor belt that we saw on the first slide. It could be 1 inch to 3 inches fluff. And whether it's cotton, polyester, wool, whatever, then the boards vibrate at a really high speed. And so you don't have to use those old vibrating belts. You can just go stand by the needle punch and really vibrate. But so the needles, the little barbs on the needles catch the fiber and intertwine them as they go up and down until you get that flat quilt batting that you unroll. It's a type of felting, yes. That was the comment up here. But not as dense as a felt. Your polyester fleece is a needle punch product. And a lot of our cottons are done that way. We can needle punch the fiber together by itself. So in your packets, hopefully you still have them pretty much. So the one with the 2 roses on the border, the white rose and the cream rose, are needle punch all cotton. They don't have what we call a scrim, and I'll discuss that here in a minute. So those fibers are all just needle punched. And if you hold it up, you'll see the little needle marks. Can you see those? So hundreds of little needles. Now because we needle punch, needles have a tendency to break. Anyone broke a sewing machine needle? Okay, same thing happens on our needle line. So at the end of the line, we actually have huge magnets. And bells and whistles go off if a needle has broken so that you don't get a batting with a needle in it, because that would not be really nice to sleep or cuddle up against or try to quilt. So we do prevent that. Okay, next slide. This is a scrim. So your warm and naturals all have scrims in them. And what that is a really, really, really lightweight non-woven, similar to an interfacing that you would put in clothing, for those that used to do clothing construction. And so they are needle punching the fiber through that lightweight non-woven. So if you have a warm and natural product at home, turn it over, you'll be able to see it kind of shine at you. That's the non-woven part shining. What it's really great for is long armers love a scrim product because as they're rolling it, instead of lifting the top up and smoothing out the batting, they can tug it. Now I say batting's not elastic, but when you're quilting for others, time is money, and so it's a faster way to smooth out the batting. If you're doing a lot of thread play, because you have that extra layer that's almost an interfacing, it can give you what we call a boardy quilt, a really stiff quilt. Has anyone ever gotten one back from a long armor and been really stiff? Yeah. And that's the addition of all that thread and the scrim together. So if you know you're going to do a lot of thread work on your quilt, then you probably want to put in a non-scrim product inside the batting. If you're going to quilt wide apart, 10 inches apart or 6 inches apart, then you might want to go to a scrim product, because on the white and cream rose you can quilt up to 6 inches. But if I wanted to do further apart and do minimal quilting on my quilt, then I want to use the scrim product. It usually says on the package with or without scrim. Or if in doubt, look on the website. Usually the manufacturers have more details about their batting on the website, but most of the packages do say scrim or no scrim. If you're at an independent quilt store, ask the owner or the help. If you're at a mass merchant, they usually say on their bins, the little descriptions on the bins.
So
Okay.
is this
Yeah.
cream or white? Either one of these are, do they have?
None of the mountains have scrim, so those are both scrimless.
Okay.
And you'll see they're really soft and cuddly. So if you want a really soft and cuddly quilt, doing a lot of the thread play, or want to quilt less than 6 inches, then you want to use one without scrim. That's going to give you a soft, cuddly quilt.
I went ahead
So
of,
those are, then you can combine your ultra fine, which is your third one in your packets if you kept them in order. It's a polyester. That's a needle punch polyester. So you can needle punch any fiber out there on the market. And then your very last one, the wool, and the two 80/20s, the wool, 80% wool, 20% cotton, and the 20% polyester, and the 80% cotton, 20% polyesters. Those are both light thermal bonded. The wool is only thermal bonded, so it's the polyester component of that that's doing the bonding. The wool is writing for free. They're freeloaders, those fibers. And then on the cotton blend, again, the polyester is what's doing the bonding. It's a low net polyester. And then we also lightly tack it. So you can combine the methods too, if your technology allows you to do that. And why do different brands have different types of putting the batting together? Because that's the type of machinery that they bought to build their brand. So not every brand has the same machinery. That's why they're built differently. Yeah.
So if it's bonded, you don't need scrim or?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you can bond with scrim or without scrim.
But the bonding keeps it from falling apart?
Yeah, without bonding, you have fiber fill. Bonding makes it a pattern. Yeah. So the three ways is needle punch, thermal bond, or the last one I didn't go over is resin. And have you ever felt a batting that quilters would say, oh, it's scratchy? Or my fingers are dry and I always catch it when we're hand quilting. That's the resin part. That's the acrylic resin that we put on batting. Up until 3 years ago, most of the mountainous battings were bonded with acrylic resin. We have gotten away. Mormon Natural, on their marketing, say we don't use any glues. They call the resin a glue. I don't really think it's a glue because it's not sticky, but that's their terminology when they market. So, Hobbs, your 80/20, is lightly resin as well as needle punch. So you can combine that. Most of the people are getting away from the resin. It's just another additive that we don't need against